I knew I should have went on vacation. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom, and we're still waiting. Grossi, and a little bit of breaking news here, and I've said many times on this channel, I'm not going to go through every single comment or speculation about Aaron Rodgers, because at the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait. I've released a couple of videos about this topic, and they were pretty lengthy, kind of just diving into some possibilities and what they might do. But today, Brian Gutekunst came out and talked to local reporters at the Combine, and he had some interesting things to say, and we've really been looking at this from the perspective of Aaron Rodgers, but this kind of allows us to get a tiny glimpse of an inside view on what the organization might be thinking regarding their current starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. The first thing, and I just want to get this right out of the way, is that Brian Gutekunst has said that there hasn't been much communication with Aaron Rodgers since their end of the season chat that they had in January, which means that we're probably not going to be getting an Aaron Rodgers decision anytime soon. And what I mean by that is probably not this week if I was a gambling man. Goody and his staff are at the Combine currently. I imagine they're working on that. And since there hasn't really been much communication, I would imagine, not to put any bets on it, I would imagine that Aaron Rodgers is not just going to go on a Pat McAfee show and say, here's what I'm doing, without at least talking to the team first. Now, to go a little bit further than that, Goody also was asked point blank, do you want Aaron Rodgers back? And previously, he has said, well, we want all those guys back. We made a commitment to Aaron Rodgers that was just beyond that one season. And it was kind of indicative of what the Packers really wanted. But today, Goody changed his tone just a little bit and said that Aaron Rodgers is a great player, but they need to have these conversations first. And as of right now, all options are on the table. Now, again, underline here, they need to have these conversations first, which they obviously have not had. But this kind of leaves the door open a little bit more for maybe a potential departing of Aaron Rodgers. Now, he also built up Jordan Love and said he is ready to be a starter. Now, again, if you rewind this to Goody's end of the year press conference in which he said, Jordan Love, he's looking really good, but he hasn't played a 17-game season, so, there's different expectations there. But now it seems all aboard the Jordan Love train. Now, you could look at this saying it's because he wants him to be the starter, or you could look at it and say maybe this is Goody trying to build up Jordan Love's trade value if they bring back Aaron Rodgers, because apparently Goody has been in constant communication with Jordan Love and his representation about him potentially being the starter and just having those conversations. So an interesting little tidbit there. Goody, again, singing his praises, kind of getting him prepared if that's the case that he will be starting. But as of right now, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers aren't really communicating, so we're still left in the dark, pun intended. Goody also said he has not fielded any trade calls just yet for Aaron Rodgers because, again, they haven't had those conversations. And if Aaron Rodgers is going to return to the team, they are going to have to restructure his contract, or they expect that Rodgers is going to restructure his contract to kind of alleviate some of the cap pain that the Packers are currently in, which shouldn't be a surprise considering Rodgers said this on McAfee and Goody said this at the end of the year press conference saying that they're going to have to restructure a bunch of guys. And now that includes David Bakhtiari. They're currently working on a restructured deal with our star left tackle, and apparently one with Kenny Clark is in the works. So they are going to have to restructure a bunch of these guys because they do need to alleviate some of this cap pressure. But it does seem that David Bakhtiari is going to be back, which is great. Rashawn Gary is also recovering nicely. He's been recovering. He's been doing rehab in Atlanta, so that's fantastic. He also brought up Mason Crosby, saying that his kicking distance was impacted by his injuries last season, but it looks like he's going to be back as well. So it looks like there will at least be some familiar faces returning to the Green Bay Packers. Of course, the biggest question is Aaron Rodgers. And just to take a step back for a hot second, I think this is an interesting development because we don't know what the Packers want. You had Ian Rappaport on Pat McAfee yesterday saying he believes that the Packers would welcome Aaron Rodgers back and he would be their starter next season if that's what Aaron wanted to do. But this kind of leaves the door open that that might not be the case here. So it's an interesting little development. And at the end of the day, we just have to wait because the Packers are not going to come out and say, yes, we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers without having that conversation. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is saying we're doing, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to say anything without talking to the Packers. So at the end of the day, both of these sides need to sit down. And when it's hashed out, it's going to be real interesting because Goody said the next progression for Jordan Love is to play. Is that going to be on the Packers or is that going to be on another football team? We're going to have to wait and see. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Before we get out of here, I want to do a big shout and thank you to a brand new Patreon and YouTube member. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Patrick Roach, and on the YouTube side of things, we have Sasha S. A big shout and thank you to you both. But let me know what you think down in the comments below as we are still on Rodgers Watch. Let me know. You can find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.